Over the last 25 years, I have installed a lot of trees, and I mean a lot of trees. And during that time, I've seen homeowners and even professional landscapers make the same mistakes over and over again. They pick a tree at the nursery because it looks good, and 10 years later, something goes wrong. The tree is either too big, in the wrong place, dead, or just plain wrong for the property. And a tree is a long-term commitment. You don't get a do-over without a chainsaw and a stump grinder. So today, I'm giving you my list, the 10 trees that I go back to time and time again, project after project, because they perform. These trees look right, they solve problems, and most of all, they stand the test of time. Stay with me, because number 10 on this list is very specific. It's not for every yard, but if you have specific conditions, it might be the single most important tree that you ever put in the ground. Now, before we get into the list, I want to say something about tree selection in general. The number one mistake I see people make, even professional landscapers, is selecting a tree for what it looks like right now and not how it's going to perform 15 to 20 years from now. Every tree on my list was chosen with 3 specific criteria in mind. First being, it's appropriate for most residential landscapes. Second, it has to perform reliably. And third, it has to bring something to the landscape to justify the sheer space that it takes up. These are not compromised plants. Every one of them earned their spot on this list. Let's get into it. Number 1 on our list, and it's not a surprise to anybody that has worked in the green industry, it's Japanese maple, or Acer palmatum. There is not another ornamental tree on the planet that offers the variety, the elegance, and the year-round interest that Japanese maples deliver, period. And what most homeowners don't realize is that Japanese maple is not a single plant. It's an entire universe of plants. Let me break it down for you. First, you have the red leaf varieties, the classics, the deep burgundy, wine red, almost black purple in some varieties. Emperor 1 is one I reach for constantly. It holds its red color better through the heat of the summer than the older varieties like Bloodgood. Both are outstanding. Then you've got your green leaf varieties. These tend to be more vigorous, often larger growing, and they give you one of the most spectacular fall color shows of any tree in the landscape. Sengu kaku, also called coral bark maple, has coral red stems that glow through the winter when everything else is dormant. Simply stunning. Next, fine textured dissectum varieties. These are your weeping lace leaf types. Mounds of incredibly delicate, finely cut foliage that cascade to the ground. Crimson Queen is my favorite. Veritas is green. These are architectural specimens. You do not tuck them in a corner. You give them space and you let them be the star. And finally, and this one most homeowners haven't even seen yet, are the variegated varieties. They have soft green and white variegation with pink tints in the spring. Not everyone carries it, but if you can find it, it is extraordinary. Every Japanese maple on this list, regardless of color or form, want the same thing: morning sun, afternoon shade, and well-drained soils. Water consistently during the first year of establishment. Once it's in the ground for 2-3 years, it becomes very manageable. This is a tree that adds instant credibility to any landscape design. It is the first tree on my list, and it will always be on my list. Number 2 on the list gives you the most dramatic flower display of any tree that you can grow in a temperate landscape: saucer magnolia. When saucer magnolia blooms in early spring, before a single leaf has opened, it is breathtaking. The enormous tulip-shaped flowers in shades of pink, purple, and white completely cover the tree. There is nothing subtle about it. It is a showstopper, and your neighbors will stop their cars to sneak a peek. Now, I want to address the one caveat right up front, because I get asked this question a lot: late frost. In many parts of the country, the saucer magnolia blooms in late March and early April. A late frost can brown the flowers and set the display back for the year. The tree is not damaged. The flowers are the only casualties, but it can be heartbreaking when it happens. That is where the sister series comes in. These are a group of hybrid magnolias developed right here in the United States at the U.S. National Arboretum in Washington, D.C. and they were specifically bred to bloom later in the spring to avoid frost damage. Varieties like Jane and Anne are what I recommend. Anne is the one I reach for the most. Deep reddish purple buds that open up into a pinkish purple interior. It is a smaller, more compact tree, usually topping out at 10 to 15 feet, which makes it far more appropriate for the average residential lots than the larger saucer magnolias, which can eventually reach 25 to 30 feet tall. For a medium-sized residential lot, Anne and her sisters are the perfect choice. For a larger property where you're looking to make a dramatic statement and you're not worried about the frost, nothing beats the larger Magnolia X Solangiana varieties. Number 3 on the list, and if you've ever been to Washington, D.C., you already know this tree. This is the Yoshino cherry, or Prunus X yidonensis. There's a brief window, usually 2 weeks, sometimes less, when the Yoshino cherry is in full bloom, and it is one of the most spectacular things in nature. The entire canopy disappears under a cloud of delicate white to pale pink flowers that have light almond fragrance when you're standing underneath them. Now, I always tell my clients this: plant a Yoshino cherry knowing that it gives you the most spectacular 2 weeks in your landscape. The summer foliage is clean and green, and the fall color is an outstanding golden orange. The winter branching structure is graceful. The Yoshino cherry is not a one-trick pony, but that spring show is absolutely why you're planting it. It grows at a moderate pace to about 20 to 30 feet tall with a similar spread. It prefers full sun and well-drained soils. It is relatively short-lived compared to oaks or a ginkgo, so you're looking at 30 to 50 years lifespan on this tree. But the display it puts on every spring more than justifies the investment. If you have the space and you want a plant that makes people stop to take photographs, consider the Yoshino cherry. Number 4 is a native tree for me here in the southeastern United States, and quite frankly, one of the most beautiful flowering trees on the planet, Cornus florida, or the dogwood. What makes the dogwood special and what separates it from Yoshino cherry is that it is a 4 seasons tree. Every single season the dogwood gives you something. In the spring, those iconic 4-petaled flowers, what we see as petals are actually bracts or modified leaves, cover the canopy before the leaves fully open. In white, they are pure and elegant. In pink, they are warm and romantic. I use both constantly, and the choice is purely aesthetic. You cannot go wrong with either. The summer green foliage is handsome and clean, with a slightly horizontal branching habit that gives it tremendous character even without flowers. The fall, the leaves turn deep, rich, red-purple color, some of the best fall color of any small tree, and simultaneously clusters of bright red berries emerge. The birds will find those berries before you even notice them. Winter, the horizontal branching structure is architectural and striking against snow or a gray winter sky. One important note about dogwoods: they do not like hot, direct afternoon sun. This is an understory tree. Provide it with afternoon shade and it will thrive in your landscape. Also, dogwood anthracnose historically has been an issue with dogwoods. If you're concerned about disease, consider Cornus florida Venus or Cornus cusa. They are both more resistant to anthracnose than just regular dogwoods that you may find in the woods. But when placed properly, Cornus florida, the dogwood, is very hard to beat in any landscape. Number 5 on our list, and this is completely different than number 2, this is Magnolia grandiflora, or the southern magnolia. Southern magnolia is an evergreen tree that produces some of the largest, most fragrant flowers in the plant kingdom. The classic southern magnolia is a large tree, and when I say large tree, I mean large tree. Planted in the right conditions and given enough time, these trees can reach 60 to 80 feet tall. They have a strong pyramidal form, glossy dark green leaves with rusty brown underside, and those enormous creamy white flowers that can reach 12 inches across, and they smell like heaven. Now, in the residential landscape, planting the full-size southern magnolia requires some thought. You need to plan for the root system and the leaf litter. These trees drop leaves year-round, and they are large, leathery, and slow to decompose. But here's where this tree becomes accessible to almost any homeowner: the Little Gem magnolia. Little Gem is a dwarf variety of Magnolia grandiflora that tops out at about 15 to 20 feet tall with a tight, narrow, columnar form. Same glossy evergreen leaves, same spectacular fragrant flowers, although slightly smaller in scale, and it begins blooming at a very young age, often in the first year or two after planting. I use Little Jim as a screening plant, as a corner specimen, and even as an espalier against a wall or a fence. It is an incredibly versatile plant that gives you the glory of the southern magnolia in a package that fits almost any residential lot. Full sun to partial shade, zones 6 through 10 for most varieties, and this tree here screams elegance in every landscape that it's in. We are halfway through the list, and the next 5 is where it gets really interesting. I have a ginkgo, a lilac that most people have never heard of, and number 10 is a tree that I get more questions about than any other tree that I discuss. Before I give you those, if you're finding this valuable, please consider hitting the subscribe button below. I post every week, and every video is built on 25 years of landscaping experience. No fluff, just what works. All right, let's finish this. Number 6 solves an issue I see often in residential landscaping, and that's privacy. This is the emerald green arborvitae. If you need a privacy screen, a tight, narrow evergreen that won't get out of hand, this is the industry standard for a very good reason. It grows 12 to 15 feet tall and only 3 to 4 feet wide. It holds its rich evergreen color all the way through winter without bronzing like you see with other arborvitae. It's easy to transplant, it establishes quickly, and it's affordable. Now, here's the honest conversation I have with clients before we plant arborvitaes. Deer. In areas with high deer pressure, deer will eat emerald green arborvitaes. Especially in late fall and winter when other food sources are scarce, I've seen a perfectly installed screen get wiped out in a single hard winter. If you're in a high deer pressure area, you need to know this going in. You'll want to protect them while they're young with fencing or some type of repellent or spray, or even consider alternatives to emerald green arborvitae. But where deer pressure is low, emerald green arborvitae is a go-to for privacy screening. It is clean, formal, and reliable every single time. Number 7 is a tree that I get asked about constantly, and most people don't even know what it is they're looking for. But this is the Shoal Creek lilac, or Vitex agnus castus Shoal Creek. Now you might hear the term lilac and picture the classic common lilac, Syringa vulgaris, that blooms in May. That is a fine shrub, but Shoal Creek is a different animal entirely. This is a large, multi-stem small tree that blooms in the summer, and I mean it blooms with dramatic, long, lavender blue spikes. Think butterfly bush, but on a 15 to 20 foot tall tree right through the hottest months of July and August. That timing is critical. Think about what's blooming in your landscape in July and August. Not a lot of trees. Shoal Creek fills that gap beautifully. The fragrance is a bonus. The foliage is aromatic when you brush past it, and the flowers themselves carry a light, pleasant scent. Pollinators absolutely love it. I've never put one in the ground without it becoming a bee and butterfly magnet within the first season of flowering. It is heat tolerant, drought tolerant once established, and actually performs better in our hot summers than it does in cooler climates. Full sun, well-drained soils, and give it room. This is not a tight space plant. For late summer color and pollinator value in a large tree, Shoal Creek lilac has very few rivals. Number 8 on the list is one of the more spectacular fall color displays in the North American landscape. This is October Glory red maple. If you want the most intense, prolonged, scarlet red fall color of any maple, and I mean any kind of fall color that makes people pull over their cars to take a picture, October Glory is it. What sets it apart from other red maple varieties is twofold. First, the color. It goes deep, true red, not orange, not a muddy mix of both, and it holds that color for an extended period of time in late October and even into November in many zones. Second, it holds its leaves longer than many other red maples, extending your fall display significantly. Here is my honest assessment. This tree gets 40 to 50 feet tall with a broad spreading canopy. And I want to be direct with you. October Glory is not for smaller residential lots. If your space is a 1/4 acre or smaller, this tree will eventually dominate the entire landscape. But for a lot that's a 1/2 acre or bigger, it can be gorgeous. The roots are surface spreading and will impact the lawn and hardscape areas over time if not given enough space. This tree belongs on larger properties, estate lots, commercial properties, roadway plantings, areas where it has room to do what it's meant to do. In those settings, it is magnificent. But be honest with yourself before you plant October Glory. This one here behind me is just a baby, but this is number 9 on our list. This is Ginkgo biloba, and it makes the list for one specific purpose. The fall color show is incredible with this tree. It turns pure gold in the fall, not yellow orange, not bronze, but gold. Those distinctive fan-shaped leaves, which you will not mistake for any other tree on earth, turns a luminous, saturated gold in autumn that is genuinely breathtaking. And then, this is one of my favorite plant facts to share. When the ginkgo drops its leaves, it drops them all at once. In a single day or two, all the leaves are simultaneously on the ground. You get a golden carpet around the tree, which is one of the most beautiful sights in the fall landscape. Beyond fall color, the ginkgo earns its place through sheer toughness. It tolerates pollution, compacted soils, drought, heat, almost every urban condition you can throw at it. One important note about ginkgo trees, they are dioecious, meaning separate male, separate female plants. Make sure to select a male plant. A reputable nursery can help you with this. The female plant produces a fruit-like structure that is rather odoriferous, and you do not want that in your yard. Number 10 on our list, and I told you this plant would be very specific, and I'm not recommending this plant for everybody. This is Quercus bicolor, or the swamp white oak. I'm recommending it for a very specific condition that a significant number of homeowners have and don't know how to solve. You have a low-lying area on your property, maybe the back corner of a lot, maybe along a drainage swell, maybe an area that holds standing water after heavy rains and doesn't drain well for weeks. You've tried to plant things there, they die, because most plants, including most trees, cannot survive with wet feet for extended periods. The swamp white oak was built exactly for these conditions. It thrives in floodplain margins and wetland environments. Extended periods of saturated or flooded soil are not a problem. In fact, this is this tree's native habitat. And here's what you get in return for planting it in your problem area. A magnificent long-lived native oak that can reach 60 to 70 feet tall with a broad, somewhat irregular canopy. The bark on mature specimens is deeply furrowed and exfoliates in the upper branches. It has tremendous character and visual interest. The fall color is a golden brown yellow that's understated and beautiful. Swamp white oak also supports wildlife. Native oaks support more wildlife species, insects, birds, small mammals than almost any other tree in North America. A swamp white oak in a low-lying area where nothing else will grow is not just a landscape solution, it's also an ecological asset. But I want to be perfectly clear here. This is not a specimen tree for a formal landscape. It's not a street tree, and it's not a tree for a well-maintained suburban landscape. This is a tree for problem areas, low-lying, wet, swampy soils. Plant it in the right conditions, give it 10 years, and it will be one of the most beautiful trees on the entire property. Here's what I want you to get out of this video. Select the right tree, the right location, and you can be successful for decades to come. Guys, as always, thank you for watching The Plant Doctor, and until next time, happy gardening.